at Sailaja at Physis. I hope I got that right.
That's right.
And since 2007, she's been focused on growing and developing, serving as an inner transformation coach in Bangalore and throughout the whole world. Over the years, Sailaja has been an inner transformation coach. She's coached over 20 CEOs over the years and coached thousands of emerging leaders to advance their careers and meet their goals. She's worked with professionals across diverse industries. She's clocked over 10,000 hours in facilitating transformation, learning and coaching, and has also created digital products to assist learning along the way. So it's great to have you today, and look forward to learning more about your organization, about your work. And maybe the best place to start is just what inspired you to take your practice as a therapist and then just moving into another level, so to speak, with FISIS.
Thank you for having me, Alan. I'm looking forward to this
Absolutely.
conversation too. So I think as a therapist, one already has, a sort of a deeper insight into human processes. And because I also have a background in human resources and I worked in human resources for a while, I had begun to become interested in the application of transformative interventions at the individual level, not just in a therapeutic environment, but also in a corporate environment. So that's really how my interest in coaching began. And in 2007, coaching wasn't even that well known, at least in India, it wasn't well known. I didn't even have a credential at that time when I began. But I was
Okay.
keen to take my insights on human processes to leaders. So really on a lark, I began using some of those processes in corporate training. And when I started doing that, I found, either the L&D heads or the OD leader at that time saying, okay, it could be interesting if you would also do some one-on-one conversations, after having done your training facilitation. So literally, that's how it started in 2007, with no language connected with coaching at all. But I think in
Wow.
doing that for 1 or 2 years, it was pretty clear that I was onto something. And then I began, seeing things around coaching and thinking that, oh, maybe it's useful for me to get a credential. And that's when I, started off on my ICF journey in
Yes.
2009. Yeah, so for 2 years by then, I was already in conversations with leaders. So I think my interest was really just seeing what happens when people are more deeply in touch with their inner process. What happens when when we really speak to people's motivation around their growth, around their learning, and people begin to feel, seen, understood, and change. And I had seen a lot of that in therapy already. And it was just interesting for me to begin seeing it in a corporate environment, which I had never, done. So that was really
What do you
the
see?
segue.
Yeah, that's interesting. That difference. I mean, in a corporate environment, it's it's a it's a different paradigm. It's a whole different, like, right, as an individual running through their life, just doing what they do, interacting with family, friends,
Yeah,
their work.
yeah,
But when you're in a corporation or a big, especially at at like a serious corporation, then there's a lot of dynamics that are, I think, make it a little more daunting in terms of how to navigate it. Especially if you have no training, right? It's people have been trained to be business leaders or their expertise in technology, marketing, whatever they do, but the human psychology or the inner understanding of who they are, and to explore that and how it affects how they do the rest of their business is probably very fascinating, I think.
absolutely. And like I said, it was really, I just stumbled into it. Yeah, because that's what I had. So that's what I took into the work and suddenly realized, oh, this is intriguing people. And beginning to
Yeah.
realize that, oh, some of these pieces seem to be really helping them just be better leaders and function better. So really by chance, I think, is how I stumbled into this. No great
What do you?
aspiration.
No, but it's. I think you were probably naturally gifted at it, and I think people recognize that. Maybe even before you recognize fully what your potential was in this field. What do you think, like in the initial stages, were the tools that you shared that sort of struck their interest? I'm curious, like what was it that you were offering that, even though it wasn't fully matured yet in terms of your education, et cetera, you had already struck a
Yeah,
chord with people?
yeah, great question. Actually, the tools that I used then are not too dissimilar from the tools that I use now. And the basic frame is very ontological. Yeah, that's the frame that I have used, then, and it's also the frame I use now, which is the understanding of who we are and what has shaped us. I think as human beings, we are very, very curious actually about ourselves, and we love knowing why we are the way we are. And I don't think you are, leaders are no different. So I think the tools that I took into the work back then were really tools connected with emotional intelligence. And I wasn't using Goldman's framework at all. I was just using, other language from psychology in terms of understanding who you are, how come you think the way you do, how come you get stuck in problem solving, what is the language of emotions, what is the value of self-awareness, emotional self-awareness in problem solving
Mm.
for a leader. What is the balance of thinking and feeling and decision making? So literally this kind of stuff, right? Understanding
Wow.
your
Yeah.
behaviors. Why is it that certain team members really tick you off and you're unable to do a good feedback conversation? Uh, you
Mm.
know, so this is where I began, with these kind of tools. Basically, emotional awareness and personality and behavioral awareness tools, and actual tools to enhance your communication. Because the
Mm.
framework that I popularly teach, which is transactional analysis, is a fantastic framework for understanding relationships and for enhancing communication. Both of these are very vital for leaders, right?
Mm.
And
Transactional analysis. Could you just summarize what that, what type of therapy that, or what type of approach that is?
so transactional analysis is popularly a social psychiatry related framework. The founder was Eric Berne in the US in the 60s. And
Mm-hmm.
primarily, it's a framework that allows people to understand their personality better, understand the background and their narratives that have got created based on their early life experiences, and it provides a very powerful framework for transformation, personal transformation. Yeah, so it is
Mm.
applied in psychotherapy. It is applied in organizational contexts. It is applied in contexts connected with education, social work, grassroots level work, coaching. So it has a very wide application. When I started it, I was holding the lens of psychotherapy, when I began.
Yeah.
But of
Yeah.
course, luckily for me, going forward, I got hooked on to coach related training and education. And so then I also could bring an organizational and just a personal development lens to it, separate from a therapeutic lens.
Mm. Yeah. So it created a nice framework to to offer up what you have
Yes,
to give to the at the corporate level and stuff like that.
yes,
So
yes.
because yeah, no, it's fascinating. I've spent my life in in corporate world, to some degree, and I'm really deep in it right now. So I'm going, oh boy, I could really use some of this. So it's very, because you're talking about like when you're dealing with people that like just, they trigger something, but it could be like related to something that happened, years and years ago, or you never quite resolved, right? It's just, it's
Yes,
a kind of interesting thing.
yes,
I find that's an interesting contemplation, as we go through the 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 daily work that we have and the interactions within, uh, your leadership team, whatever it is. So I think it's great that you're able to provide this and that people are recognizing it, right? Because a lot of times leaders, they may not be as open to seeing any flaws within their own who they are, right?
Yeah, not
Is that
not only that, Alan. What I realized
is
that,
different?
in my country, which I'm primarily my practice is in India,
Yeah,
our education can be quite siloed when we are getting prepared for the world of work. So, an engineer is primarily only studying engineering topics. They're not studying
right.
anything from humanities. And so, therefore, the people I was meeting, and the city that I live in, Bangalore, is it's like that a technology hub in India. Yeah, so
Yes.
most people I was meeting were people from technology, right? And they are who've studied engineering and have come up in that route. So, because of their background, they have very little reflection or understanding of human personality, human processes. So, a lot of things that I was saying really sounded like completely out of the ordinary. It wasn't from their world. But the challenge for me was to develop the relevant story, yeah, for a leader
Yeah.
to connect with why is this important. And I think when that coin drops, then the fun
Then they
begins.
understand the value, right? And they
Absolutely,
start to open up.
yeah. And so I
So
think,
how did, if you don't mind me asking, is like, uh, what was that, that catalyst or that shift that could happen, or did you just have a way of presenting it that was more, something they could embrace or sort of be open to, as opposed to feeling like it's totally foreign and it really has nothing to do with who they are.
I think I've learned to present it better, a lot better in the last 5 or 6 years. I have to say that I see that shift in my own capability to articulate better. But even in the beginning, I think just the way you present an idea, making it very real in terms of their context. I think that's pretty much what allows leaders to feel different about this
Hmm.
work. And when they begin to bring some of their challenges to you in personal conversations, and when you're able to, in a very simple but sophisticated way, use an idea, yeah, to throw light on the problem that they're talking about. I think leaders then go back really, then they're really nodding and saying, yeah, absolutely,
Mm.
you got that. So I think those are moments that all of us as coaches, we have to create those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that comes slowly. I certainly see that in the initial years, I didn't do well in this area, but the last few years have been very
Really
good,
coming together.
yeah, in terms of it coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. So in your since you've been in business for so long, I mean, have there been times that you've reached a roadblock or reached some sort of challenge within your business, or something along the way that could even be external, like, I mean, COVID, or all these different things that have happened, or some financial crisis in industry or whatever. Is there anything that you've had difficulty overcoming, or you've found ways to overcome it? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And, I'm just looking back and smiling because I never considered my organization and my work as a business for the longest time. I think those of us who come from, at least me, because I come from the world of, therapeutic work, we're so much more grounded in the space of service than
I
in
like that.
looking at our numbers. And so for the longest time, I didn't look at this work as a business. And therefore, I didn't see any challenges because, if there was work, it was great. And if there wasn't so much work, I still was doing I had a parallel track of psychotherapy work going on. I wrote a book 8 years ago. So it was always something that I was doing or learning or, yeah, so I never saw it as a challenge. But I think
No,
in
I
the
love.
last 5 or 6 years is when I got a little serious about looking at this as a business, only
Yeah,
because my own coach began to question why was I doing what I was doing? How come I'm
yeah,
charging what I charge? How am I reading the ecosystem around me? And I have no background in business at all. I have not done an MBA that I would
yeah,
understand the different pieces of building my business. I wasn't thinking like that. But I think in
yeah,
the last couple of years, I decided to coach with a business coach so that I
yeah,
learned to put on that hat. And that's been very
yeah.
revealing because I just began to notice that I actually am in an ecosystem and I have to give
Yes.
to it and also receive from it.
Yeah.
I think, and therefore, I really, cannot in a straight way answer that question of did I see challenges? I never saw challenges.
No, I think you answered it perfectly. It's quite interesting, and I think it's interesting too that in the last couple of years you've like reassessed the the dynamic that's going on. You know that maybe you are in a business or something, right? And how do I want to run it? And and I think it's great you have a coach that is guiding you to
Yeah,
take a look at it from a from a more analytical standpoint or whatever, or even your goals and vision for the business itself as
that's right.
opposed to yourself. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like it's almost like its own entity. It's still but you're very connected with it.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's, but that's no, it's good. And I guess that's what I was more stepping into is just kind of like from a business standpoint, like how do you even find your clients? Do they just find you? Is it referral? Is it any social media outlet or outreach or what
Yeah.
do you do any?
When I decided to take a more serious look at my business, that's
Hmm.
really when I began attending to to my footprint in social media. Yeah. And so today, I think uh, my primary source is referrals.
Hmm.
And the secondary source is mainly social media. And when I say social media, I mainly think of it as LinkedIn. I am
Hmm.
present on others, but not as seriously as I attend to LinkedIn. So now people
Okay.
do find me on LinkedIn, people Google me. Yeah, but that's still a smaller portion, Alan. Primarily, a
As
lot of
far as
them, yeah, they just come because they know my work. And some of my clients who invite me to coach, I am often invited into those meetings, knowing fully well that they aren't talking to any other coach at all. Yeah, and that's such a privilege to be able to invite, to
oh
be
yeah,
able to be invited in such a context where I am not bidding, I am not pitching, I'm doing none of that. And I'm very grateful that those clients deeply understand my work, obviously, because they've heard from the leaders whom I've worked with. So I'm really
yeah.
grateful that I'm called in and they make a good match, between me and the leaders. So my work is much reduced because they have truly understood the spaces where they can use me,
Mm,
so to say. So that's
yeah,
primarily how I work. And
yeah,
I also have a very big focus on women in leadership, Alan. It's a very big area of trust for me. This is the 15th year of
yeah.
me doing this work, and I've authored a book in that area. So I also run long-term cohorts for leaders, yeah, and that's very much those are programs where I'm coaching and facilitating both, right? So, I overall use a coaching style all the time in my work, but those
Yeah.
are, programs where there is quite a bit of coaching going on, but there's also some facilitation because it's a group that's journeying together. So,
And do you do this online or do you do it as a in a physical
no, I don't.
event or
It's hybrid, Alan. So a lot of it
okay.
is online, but we meet 3 times a year here in
Oh,
India,
nice.
in
Yeah.
most of the time here in my city. So we do 3 intensives in the year. An intensive is about 3 days. We do that 3 times because my coaching approach and style also includes somatics and work with the body. And so I really need bodies in the room. I cannot do that work well enough online. So we can do
Yeah.
other
Well, that's hard to translate. Yeah.
yeah, we do other conversations online, but 3 times a year meeting up is a mandatory aspect of that.
How large is the group, roughly?
Groups are anywhere from 12 to 14 leaders, small group.
Are they within the same company or within, or
No, no,
just a
no, no,
variety of
not at all. These are
just everybody?
publicly announced. Yeah, right now enrollments are going on for 2026. We're
Okay.
almost full. And when I announce it on LinkedIn and other spaces, then there are leaders from different organizations who come in, leaders
Wonderful.
even from diverse industries who come in. So there could be somebody from pharma, somebody from tech,
Yeah.
there could be a startup founder, there could be someone from manufacturing. So it's a very diverse set of people. But the commonality is that they're all at a particular level, right? And that's
Hmm.
somewhat of a homogeneity that I try and maintain. So they're all, got X number of years at a minimum, and they're functioning at certain levels. So that is what I take care of at the intake. But they're
Wow.
all
Okay.
people from all over, and many times from other parts of the world too, not just from
Mm.
India.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, I could see, just because of your experience and kind of how you developed your practice and your business, and it's like it's rare to, like, there are a lot of therapists out there that have great things to offer, but they don't have the language and the connection to the corporate environment or the business environment to that level.
Yes.
You know, they could talk about their home life and this and that and relationship with their spouse or significant other, but when it comes to the things that people have to deal with in a corporate environment, it's like that takes and the, having the context to be able to add your wisdom and then support that and make positive change happen.
Absolutely,
That's a
because I
gift. Yeah.
absolutely because I think in the kind of coaching that I'm doing, because I'm not doing life coaching, yeah, I'm doing
Yeah.
executive development or leadership coaching. In that context, being fully present in a leader's world is vital. Why would they work with me otherwise? So being able to
Yeah.
language their realities, which is how do I manage upwards, my stakeholders? How do I get into my
Hmm.
executive committee of my organization? How do I handle and navigate power and politics? How do I show up with executive
Yeah.
methods? These are the questions that senior leaders are struggling with today,
Yeah.
including resilience, including pivoting, including managing ambiguity, including, how do I hold myself in this world where everything's changing
Right.
and, the 5-year plans are passé, right? So if we are
Yeah.
not speaking that language, why would they be working with a coach? So I really feel
No. Well,
that,
that's why I think you're
yeah,
rare. I mean, I don't know that many coaches that have found a bridge to make that connection or even sought to do that. And I think it's I could see how the more you become well known and you're going to be a global. I mean, it's already happening. It's like you're on LinkedIn, you're reaching all these different people from all over,
yeah.
and I could see the power of your work. I think, have you written any books that are related to what you do in that world?
I've written one book in the space of women in leadership,
Yeah.
yeah, which, my book is now sort of like the scaffolding of a lot of the work that I do with
Okay.
women leaders and those groups. So that's the one book that I've written where I have combined and really married the two frameworks that I use a lot. One is
Yeah.
transactional analysis, the other is generative leadership. Yeah, and they're both part of the book.
So
Um,
this book actually, gender wise, a man could get the same benefit out of reading it, or is it very,
They,
very much more geared towards? Because I know it's unique.
I
Women's
know.
challenges are totally different, and because of
Yes.
what's happened throughout the
Yes.
centuries, and the
Yeah.
way women were mistreated. It's just the whole thing. So, but I was curious, is because like I could see, as a man, that I think your work would be really fascinating to learn more about, and so yeah, that's why I was curious
Yeah,
about it.
I think the book is very much more women's oriented for all the reasons that you've just said.
Empowering, and
Yes, yeah.
it's yes,
Because I
yeah,
think our identity formation and socializing is very different, when we are women, and that's true all over the world, not just in India. So I do feel
okay,
the stories and the examples are very, very women centric. But because I began getting this question in 2020, after my book came out, I went on
yeah,
and created digital products, connected
wonderful.
with these concepts so that these could be gender agnostic and even men
Right.
could
Yeah.
learn and
Because I could see I mean, for men, women, whoever, it's just like I feel
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
valuable.
Yeah, I'm hoping to write some on 26, Alan, and this time
Yeah.
I will write something that's gender agnostic, because I
Wonderful.
also have the benefit of the last 6 years of my coaching practice being so much
Hmm.
more richer than it was earlier, and I would love
Incredible.
to, use some of those,
I hope you have the bandwidth to be able to create that,
without
or
a
have the
doubt.
time to do.
Without a
Yeah.
doubt, I think that's one of the leadership challenges for any leader is uh, the way I look at it is not whether I have the bandwidth. If I care about it, in a big way, then
Yeah, you'll make it a
then I make
priority.
the
Yeah.
bandwidth. That's how I'm looking
Yeah.
at it.
Good
So
for
I am
you.
going to make the bandwidth for it because
Wonderful.
I just think it's very good for this work to reach more people through a book.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it is. I can't. It's time has flown. It's a great conversation. I could have talked to you for another, half hour or whatever. But I think we'll have to sort of table that for when your next book comes out, and we can
Sure.
have a longer discussion about that. But thank you for being a guest on Founders HQ. Sailaja, you're an amazing person and therapist and all that, and a coach to leaders. And I think, I'm sure I'm going to hear more and more about you as time goes on. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.